to The Balancing Act. Now here's your hosts, Jamie Wonko and Joe Vitale.
Hello and welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I am one of your hosts. This is Joe Vitale. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. Not really.
No, it's raining again.
It's raining and it's going to rain because, it's springtime and it's raining. And we're, focusing on having a little bit of a break to recharge the batteries. But, it's going to rain the whole week. So it looks like we're going to be dealing with some deluge coming down. This is part 2 of our episode that we started recording a couple days ago. Yep. And now we're back to talk about part 2, which we'll get into in just a moment. But there was a special delivery. And if you listened to part 1, she's very nervous right now. I can tell she's very nervous.
I am not. I'm a little tired.
Oh, gotcha.
A little tired. Good morning. I'm Jamie Wonko here with Joseph Vitale. Welcome to the Balancing Act podcast. And yes, this is part 2 of our parents, where are you, parents?
Yeah, we need your support. I dropped off this morning a Cadbury cream egg, ladies and gentlemen. So Jamie is ready to, it's in a basket.
This is my basket, as mentioned in our last episode.
Wait, that's the actual basket, not the white? Okay.
Mine was not white. Mine was brown wood.
That's
and
right.
My sister's was white and the size of a car. This was mine, and it essentially had room for one thing.
Okay.
Which is fine, but here it is.
That's the Cadbury cream egg. Mine is already unwrapped. I am already unwrapped of my Cadbury cream egg, which I have not had one of these this year because I've been trying to be a good boy and stay away from eating bad things. And I should just eat them. I also now stole this from my daughter and I now have to replace it with multiple Easter candies. But when I was told, when she was told it was from Miss Wonko, she was like, "Oh, that's okay then." So
yay!
Okay. All right, so here we go.
Shout
we need
Sophia. Okay.
Shout out Sophia for the Cadbury cream egg. Okay, so we need your honest impression. Here we go.
Okay, I'm gonna move the mic away.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna chew into the microphone.
Now, inside of this is like a white cream filling.
It's like a white creamy filling thing.
I'm prejudging it, but okay.
All right, let's do it.
Back away from the mic. Back away from the mic.
Back away from the mic. Am I chewing into the microphone? That's obnoxious if I am.
Yes.
I'm now like feet away. She looks confused. There's a little bit of confusion.
Did you eat the whole thing?
I did not. I only bit the top off.
I was like, I wasn't sure if you just like,
No, I mean, I could.
Dare me. It's fine.
Okay.
I don't know that I would like return to it.
Okay.
But I'm more of like a peanut butter.
So am I. That's why this is so weird for me to like.
Is this
like
nostalgic
so
for you?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Is that what it is?
That was like Easter morning. That was the first thing I tore into because we were told that it was a top tier Easter candy. Actually, Miss Wonko, by our special guest that's going to be joining us today. Now, normally we don't have a special guest in between our episodes, but we referenced an article written by Katie Schneider about an open letter to parents. And luckily we were able to reach out to her and get her to join us today. So we're going to bring her on stage. Hope that's okay. Are you done chewing?
I feel bad I wish I could have mailed one of these to her.
I know we should have. Okay, let's bring her on stage. Hello, Katie Schneider. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are on the Balancing Act podcast, and we are so appreciative of you taking the basically short notice on your very short Easter break to join us today. So thank you very much.
Friday, Monday, but
yeah.
So Friday, Monday.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't think I disagree with that. If it would get us out of school a little bit earlier, I'm at a less break point in my life.
When are you guys done for the school year?
June 57th, I think.
June 18th.
Yeah.
which is really early for us this year.
June 18th. Yeah, we get out
early.
We are done about a month before that. We're done like May 20th.
Oh my goodness. When do you go back?
August 15th, somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah, because I have a good friend of mine that lives in Indiana, and they are done like Memorial Day weekend. and they go back they literally go back like August 1st or 2nd, which is weird.
Yeah.
Do they have about the same amount of time off? And you are in Nebraska again, correct? Okay.
Yep.
Well, you might be our first. Is Arkansas west of the Mississippi River? I don't know. We had Dr. Tarver on a couple episodes ago, but you might be our first guest west of the Mississippi River. I now have to check a map.
I am honored. Love that.
Yeah, love it. So I did say to since we didn't really know much about each other, and I reached out to you on Instagram, as we like to say, we shamelessly will slide into people's DMs and ask them to be on our podcast, right, Ms. Wonka?
Totally fair.
Yep.
We'd love to hear about your journey in education and how you wind up here. Would be awesome to start with.
Sure. So I grew up in rural Nebraska, in a little town of about 3,000 people. My mom was my 3rd grade teacher, and then she was also my librarian when I went into junior high. She got her master's in library science and flipped over to the high school, so she kind of just followed me everywhere. And she's actually now also the principal in that same school. My little sister is also a teacher in that same school in my hometown.
Wow.
Yeah, so we just have a lot of education in the family. So I think I pretty much always knew that that's what I wanted to do. Although when I went to college, I went to the University of Nebraska at Kearney when I was a freshman, and I hated it. And it was just the worst freshman year of my life. And so I rethought all of my life choices after that year. So kind of rethought education, decided I was going to go to a community college and get my associate's degree and figure it out. And then I ended up back on a track to get my bachelor's in education. And so that's where I ended up. And when I graduated from college, there was an opening in a smaller town about 30 miles from my hometown. And so I took my first job there. Stayed there for about 6 years. And then, I'm still technically there, but our little tiny school consolidated with 2 other little tiny schools in the area. And so now we're one bigger school in the literal middle of a cornfield. So we built a brand new building, like dead center between all 3 towns. And so we literally exist in the middle of a cornfield. But so I think this is my 9th year in that same system, but yeah.
Could you pinpoint one particular thing about your freshman year of college that do you have one specific thing that happened, or one, can you kind of hone in on what it was that you didn't like?
It wasn't necessarily college. I think it was just like me personally. I had come from this really small, tight-knit community. My graduating class had 16 kids.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I went to the private school. Our public school has bigger class sizes, obviously. But so, I came from this just little tiny bubble of an environment, went to college, and I think I was just homesick, to be real honest with you.
Okay.
It just wasn't mature and ready enough, I don't think.
Yeah. You're, I did not know that you had so many educators in your family. And because Jamie, you also come from your dad was a elementary school principal or high school? Elementary school, correct?
It was K-8, like about 1,200 kids. Yeah.
Okay. And
my sister's a teacher. My dad's sisters are teachers. My husband's a teacher. His dad is a principal. His mom was a teacher. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And his dad was the principal while he was in school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And your mom was your third grade teacher. I just
my mom taught me 3rd grade. Learned really fast not to call her mom at school. She had a very strict, you have to call me Mrs. Schneider at school. I'm not mom here.
Wow.
Yeah. So you we often talk about how teaching is a calling, right? And it seems like, it kind of seems like you were going to be on that path no matter what happened in your life. Just getting that impression from our brief conversation. So one of the things that we actually asked you to, one of the reasons we talked to you about coming on today was about the the article, which started circling around social media. It actually was posted I saw it posted in a group of, it was created by some educators in New Jersey. It was called Teachers Helping Teachers, and it was created around the pandemic. And one of our, not a colleague, but somebody I know that teaches in our school district actually posted a link to the article. And then I started seeing other people pick up and kind of gain some traction. So I'd love to ask where like your perspective actually comes from in that article that you wrote. And you know, what was the major takeaway that you want somebody that reads that article to take?
You know, it's one of those things that has been kind of like in the back of my head for a long time. And I had like written little pieces of it and then kind of shied away from posting it and then come back to it after, you know, an interaction with a parent or a student or, you know, having a conversation with my mom, who's a principal, who has had interactions with her own parents and students and, you know, just other friends that are teachers. I just feel like this problem that has built up of like these kids that don't have like a concept of what it means to just like what like the baseline of showing respect looks like, or I don't know, just like how we treat each other almost. Okay. I feel like the most productive way to start teaching kids how to do that is in the home. You know, like I feel like growing up, I knew how to treat people based on the way my parents treated each other or treated other people, or the way, you know, like you're in public in the way that other parents parent. And I feel like parenting is just something that you see everywhere. And if we're doing a poor job of it, we're raising kids who are then also conditioned to do a poor job of it. And I just feel like if we want a generation of people, not necessarily even students, who are, you know, kind to each other and respectful to each other and you know how to have a conversation instead of an argument, that starts with teaching them how to do those things, you know?
Yeah, that's a great point. I also looked at it from the you wrote some things from the perspective of like when you as a parent disagreed with the decision of the volleyball coach.
Oh yeah.
And you made like, is that something are you also coaching as well?
So I'm not a sports coach. I do coach like fine arts. I coach speech and drama. And I don't see it as much in the fine arts as I do in my boyfriend is a basketball coach, varsity basketball coach in a different small town school. There are a million around here. And my sister has been a basketball and volleyball coach. Her husband is a basketball coach. My dad was a football coach. And so I feel like I see that a lot. Like they come home with stories about how, you know, their decisions aren't necessarily agreed with, and they are met with like talking to brick walls instead of let's have a conversation about why I made this decision, or, you know, have your athlete or your competitor who has an issue with the coach's decision, just set up a face-to-face with your coach and kind of air your grievances instead of sending in the sharks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we not giving the kids the opportunity? We're not giving them the language. We're not giving them the understanding to go in and fight their own battles. I think that's a parenting issue.
I think that's for sure part of it. I think, you know, they, instead of their first reaction being, I have an issue with this decision, I'm going to go see what the problem is and see what, you know, I can do to fix the problem. Or I feel like they don't explore fixing the issue themselves before they take it to their parents to fix the issue. And their parents maybe don't give them the opportunity to take it in and fix it themselves first, which I just don't feel like I feel like it does them a disservice then. You know, it doesn't teach them how to fix the issue. It just teaches them, tell somebody else to come in and fix it for you, you know?
Which ultimately leads them to
Sorry, he just had a Cadbury egg.
Yeah. You know,
I wish I had a little water myself on it.
Thick,
Like,
that thick cream in that Cadbury egg, that will get stuck in your throat for sure.
well, you're the one that said it was a top tier Easter candy, which
It is a top tier Easter candy.
which
It is.
I also agree with.
drink.
Yeah. True. Yeah, I mean, we might have to get Katie's perspective on Easter candy then. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's true.
if she thinks, because our perspectives may differ. So what else is in your top? Not that we want to diverge away from the article, but what else is in
my
your
top tier Easter candies?
I mean, we need to know this now. Our listeners need to know.
My number one Easter candy is not the cream-filled Cadbury eggs, but the mini Cadbury eggs.
Oh, yeah.
That are
Oh, yes.
solid coated chocolate. Those
Yes,
are my
girl. Yes.
favorite. Yeah.
I cannot keep those in my house because my daughter will like squirrel them away and find ways to eat the entire bag.
Yeah.
So will I. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that is very high on my list.
Mhm.
Cadbury eggs
Yeah,
will be
they'll be
1A, and the mini eggs will be 1B. I think that's where I am in my tier.
That's fair. I think I flip it around, but that's
Okay.
Okay,
that's fair.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have authorities on the matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're apparently Easter candy experts. So yeah, there's times where I have to, I try not to get involved with my kids' sports and their coaches.
Sure.
I've only had one conversation, which went, okay. But I also think that conversation happened because I'm a teacher in the district where where my children go to school. So like,
Mhm.
I'm not people, some people know who I am because I've done technology stuff, but like I've been in the district for a while and I've been involved in the community. So people are willing to have a conversation. I don't know if that conversation would have happened if I was a regular parent, first of all.
Right.
A lot of times they're asking kids to advocate for themselves, like go to your coach and say like, why aren't I getting enough playing time, or what could I do to improve? And a lot of them don't have that skill set to be able to do that. And we need to give them that opportunity. So having that mock conversation and allowing those kids to advocate for themselves is going to be important. And also parents are really only getting one side of the story. Well, my coach put me on the bench because blah, blah. Well, do we know why? Were you given a direction that were you given a direction that you didn't follow? Was there a particular matchup that just wasn't working and the coach decided to make a change or a decision? Like there are a variety of different factors that play into those types of decisions, right? Yeah. So it's the same thing when a student comes home and says, my teacher, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're only getting the perspective of that kid. And how many times have we had a conversation with a parent and you're like, that's not exactly how it happened. So let's talk about the real, right? Like the things that actually took place. That I try to temper my own expectations with, and my wife is normally the one that contacts if there's a problem with the teacher or not a problem with the teacher, but like an issue with an assignment. She's the one that takes care of it because it's difficult to like blur those lines between like, I'm a teacher in district, but I'm also asking you to do something. So at least that's my perspective on it. So,
Katie, what grade do you teach?
Right now I teach high school freshmen and sophomores, so 9th and 10th grades. When I was in my little tiny school, I taught 7-12. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I was I was the department. Like I was the only English teacher in the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about how many classes per grade level do you have in your school?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. Okay. So it's, and how I'm curious if you have 3 different towns that are coming from like the cornfields, as you say, how far are the kids traveling at any point in time to get to school?
It's about 8 miles from each town.
Cool. Okay. Because we live in a really, we're from New Jersey and we're in a, there's over 9 million people that live in our very, very small state. And, and so we're in a school district that has about approximately 1,000 children per grade. So we're looking at, somewhere between 13,000 about, and maybe 2 miles from here, there's another town that has another 14,000 kids. So it is super crowded, but so it's interesting because we have these concepts of different parts of the country and what it must be like. And so there is this idea of here where we are on the East Coast, especially with our proximity to Philadelphia and New York and these, major cities where we have tons of people, so many people, such small space. The parents a lot of times are, just trying to make their way in a new country, many, immigrants, things that I feel like, and this might just be me, like a me sort of thing where you think, oh, middle America, it's cornfields and it's Nebraska. And there's, these sort of different family structures. And so that's kind of what struck me from where you are and what you were writing about, that it is much more of like this widespread problem than we might think just in our own situation of where we are.
Absolutely.
And so when we have spoken to educators in Indiana, where's Tyler from? Arkansas?
Arkansas, yeah.
Right.
Same.
And educator Andrea is Indiana.
Yeah.
Right. So, so what we're hearing now, we got to get over to like California, but we're hearing the same types of problems and issues across the board wherever, if it's a small community, a more urban, suburban, it doesn't seem to really matter. We're seeing these problems with education everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere.
It's systemic at this point, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, you actually use the word epidemic in your article, and I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'd also be interested to hear your mom's perspective, especially because she's been on it seems like all sides of the fence, right? She's been a classroom teacher. She's been and how long has she been in education, if you don't mind me asking at this point? I mean,
I want to say I know it's over 30 years, but I don't know. It's less than 40 over 30.
Yeah. And again, it's the changes that she's probably seen are exactly what, we've seen, Jamie and I, over the last, 25 years in our career.
Yes.
And that's where I think that's why I think your article that you wrote resonates with so many people. And I think that also where you talk about like, these are life skills that kids need, right? They're not going to have their parent next to them at all times. So they need to be able to advocate for themselves, to have healthy relationships. And we're not creating that if we're not parenting them at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we go from this idea of, gentle parenting and you want to be everyone's friend, or do you want to hold them accountable to what the standards are in your home? And that's where I think some things start to be a little bit lax, and it becomes difficult for us in the classroom when you have situations like that.
Have you ever thought about this? And I do consider myself a teacher's teacher. I have to, as a parent, though, I'm going to say, do we think at all that the stressors that have been placed on teachers as far as academic testing, our SGOs and how we're being evaluated and what we expect the kids to do at what age, is at all affecting like the teachers' behavior towards the students, and the students are feeling that stress and responding back to it? My own kids, it's like they are in this traditional 2-parent, go to the doctor, fill out the form. How many degrees do you hold? I always tell my students that I'm like, when you go to the doctor's office, you have to fill out how many degrees you hold when you're filling out a form for your children. And as if like that's going to definitely have some sort of bearing on, right? Like some sort of medical, clearly it's always on every form. And so if you take the formula of like exactly what you're supposed to have for children, we have 2 educated people, married, religious, right? All a box, check. And I find my own kids come home with stories of things. And I definitely try to go in with the perspective of, all right, we're going to calm down. We're going to talk about what happened. That can't really be what happened. And I have to say that there have been a couple of instances where 100% they were 100% telling the truth. And it was not an okay situation. So what do you do as a parent, right? I feel like that's such a trick in parenting. How much do you step back and how much do you say, do I see? And I think it is much more difficult when you are a teacher because you have to do a very delicate dance of what do I say? What do I not say? Do I step in? Do I not? I don't know. And sometimes I try to figure out, like, I know that they're well-meaning people. I know that they're doing their best job or they're trying to do the best job. I don't know if it's like, there's so many things being thrown at educators. Try this program, do this quiz, play this game. And it's almost this flurry that is now raining down on the kids as well. And they're sort of responding to that. And just as like a opposite sort of, as someone who is currently parenting 3 people that are, I kind of see both sides of it. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. I do definitely think that is sometimes the case. I think sometimes you do have a teacher who is overwhelmed and reacts poorly, or, something happens in the classroom that should not happen in the classroom. I definitely think that occurs. And absolutely, kids should go home and tell their parents, like, this thing happened to me. This feels wrong. Like, I don't think this, this doesn't feel safe, or it doesn't feel acceptable, or whatever it is. And in that instance, I do think it's appropriate for the parent to maybe be the one to contact the teacher if the child is, not feeling safe about the situation. My biggest issue with situations like that is I feel like parents often skip that step. Like, they often get upset with the teacher and they don't confront the teacher about the problem. They jump over their head and confront the administration, and same with coaching. I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to go to the athletic director or the principal. Yeah.
I literally, I'm not going to go into the details of the situation, but my children's first day of high school, the first day, I picked up my daughter and I said, "Oh, how was your day?" And she's going through a story and she tells me something that happened in one of her classes. And I was like, okay. And I said, I have to call I literally have to call the vice principal tomorrow. Like, and I didn't want to, and it wasn't anything with the teacher. It was something kids had said. And it was an insensitive comment that needed to be addressed.
Right.
Especially with the shift of DEI focus and things like that. Like a conversation needed to happen. I had to preface it to the vice principal saying, look, like, I realize it's the second day of school and I'm about to say, here's a problem, go fix it. Like, but I have to, like, it's one of those things, like, if I don't say something and it continues as an educator, like, I would feel like I'm enabling the situation. Like, I have to say something. And I didn't want to, like, go to the teacher because, in according to my daughter, the teacher did not hear the comment because it was in, like, a small group setting. And I wanted to let them know that, like, this was said to another student and it needs to be addressed. And then, that was literally the first day of high school. I'm like, is this the way it's going to be? And luckily it hasn't been. But that's like, I didn't want to be like that parent, because I like, look, Jamie and I are not parenting experts, right? We make mistakes every single day with our kids. Or I do anyway. I don't know about Jamie.
No, flawless.
No, flawless. My kids want to live with her more than they want to live with me. Mrs. Wonko actually has to teach them how to drive. We said, "Who's going to teach you how to drive?" They're like, "Miss Wonko is." I was like,
maybe Mr. Wonko. I'm not that great at driving, so
someone's got a little bit of a lead foot. So you don't want to be that parent, but at times you have to be. And we don't, like, we make mistakes with our kids every day, but one mistake that never gets made is when our children mess up, they are held accountable to the situation that, my daughter took a picture in the cafeteria, wasn't supposed to, and, like, got ACS for 2 days. And the first thing she told the vice principal was, look, please tell my mom, like, I wasn't doing this, like, to get in trouble. Like, I did something, it was inappropriate. And I know how and it was a good conversation with the vice principal. We weren't angry with her, but she knew what the standard was and she didn't live up to it. So therefore learning opportunity. Let's move past it. It happened. It's not going to happen again. Let's move on. And a lot of times, like where I get stuck is when the behavior doesn't get corrected. And I've called and I've called and I've called, and we've had the parent meeting and we've had the email, and I'm doing the progress reports, and nothing changes. That's where you get to a point as an educator where you have to wash your hands of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I realize how that may sound to people, but like, you have to. When you're in a class of 28, 29 kids, and you got a couple of them that just don't want to meet the standard, you have to, at some point, focus on the kids that want to be there. And that's a lesson that it took me a really long time to learn in my career.
And that is hard. But, you know, if you let those couple of kids that are causing you issues, you know, disrupt your entire class, you're doing the other 20 some kids in there such a disservice by, you know, these two issues, or kids who are causing issues are, you know, capturing all your focus, and then the other ones don't benefit either. So sometimes it's the good of the many, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
what about,
go ahead, James. Sorry.
Oh, what about computers in your school? Do you, like, we're 1-to-1. What do you
We're
guys?
also 1-to-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's been a shift with that, with children's student behavior? We have a lot of issues with the kids playing games on the wrong tabs, looking things up. It's like all day too much.
Yeah, we also have those same issues. I think I haven't heard of anyone who has a 1-to-1 system not having those issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think part of it is they're kids and they lack impulse control, you know? So they struggle with having that like potential for instant gratification right at their fingertips, and they just can't resist that temptation. So I think sometimes maybe we need to take the temptation away.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know, Jamie sent me, she sent me a text the other day. I'm trying to scroll back and find, oh, here it is. I don't know who she is. Her name is Jennifer Kolari. And it was like, oh, as a parent, you're like, oh, why do I have to tell them this 8,000 times? Like, because you're their frontal lobe. Their frontal lobes are still developing. So the things that you're telling them are absent from the frontal lobe of their brain. So you have to tell them things repeatedly. You have to, they're lacking impulse control. They're lacking proper decision-making. They're looking for instant gratification. And you are that governing body as a parent. Mm-hmm. Like we don't, and come on, how many times as educators are we repeating directions over and over and over, and we're posting it on a board and we're putting it in Google Classroom, and we're like, okay, what are we doing? Where are we? And you want to lose your mind, but you know that you can't because you know you need to be like, okay, let's refocus. Let's focus on what we are doing and how we are doing it. You know, so we become that both as parents and with our students as well. And your article also really talks about like why, you know, the reason for a teacher shortage is lack of parenting. I'm not trying to like funnel it, but like that's not the only reason, but that might be part of the reason, because another person that I saw on social media, and I'm sorry that can't give her the credit because I don't remember, it's just off the top of my head. She talked about how you have anyone who's within their right mind that's putting up with a stressful situation that is able to retire is like, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. It's too stressful for me. I can't deal with Generation Alpha. I'm out. And then you have people at the beginning of their careers that are coming in that are going, yeah, I'm out. I cannot do this for, you know, you got to teach till you're 109 or whatever it is in some of these states. So, and we're at this point where like people at the experienced teachers are leaving. Your novice teachers that are coming in are like, yeah, this is not for me. And we're just going to have less and less, you know, lifeguards for the pool. And when is the shift going to happen? And I don't know when that's going to be. So, yeah, doom and gloom today. Sorry.
No, but you know what? When I started in 2001, there was this group of older women that had taught at my school, and they would joke and call them the marms. And now looking back, they were geez, I mean, probably like only
Probably our age.
right. Like they were in their, they were in their 60s, and a lot of them had been moms. So they were, they were working, then they stayed home with their kids, and then they came back to finish, and they, had the 25 year rule. So a lot of them were in, they had been like old enough, but not, they missed those years with the kids. So, but they were as invested in the kids as anyone you would have. I mean, anyone that would 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So when I started, I had this beautiful influence of these women who were, I mean, and there was one, she, had like, we called her the lady of 1,000 days because she had her retirement countdown, and it was like I have 1,400 days left to go, which was like 10 years more to teach. But
right,
so of course there's always like the outlier. However, a couple of the other girls that I started with, we still talk about, wow, we were so lucky. We had these women who were so, oh, do you need something? Oh, I'm going to photocopy. I'll make 200. We'll all do this together. We're going to do it. There was just this wonderful sense of community. And we had these people who had been working and doing their best. And I feel often guilty that I try very hard. And I know I'm personally offended by this new concept of like toxic optimism, right? Or whatever they're calling that now. That I actually do feel personally offended anytime I read something about that, because I was raised with people who loved their job and helped me to love my job and helped me to learn and to grow in those first 5 years that are so critical and crucial. And now I think, are they all leaving because they're just flooded with like a group of curmudgeons that don't want to do their, so it's, how do you say to someone that's new? And so I just, that I go back and forth about that. It does make me feel terrible with complaining or things like that, because there are a lot of kids, I say kids, like the 22 little baby 23-year-olds that, I could be their mom, and I look at them and they really do have a lot of hope. But when they look around the room, like the staff room, are there people there who are showing them like the best of what there is? Or is it just, I can't wait to be done. These kids are terrible. They used to be great. If only that, these parents, I do. I kind of look at them and I think, could we be better for them? Or are we just so drained that there's just like, I have nothing left to give?
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Katie, can I ask how long you've been in the classroom? Because we didn't really broach
Wait,
that
I think
subject.
you said, did you say 9 years?
Yep, 9 years.
You did.
Nice.
I missed it. Okay.
Yeah.
9 years. So you're, and again, you also probably have,
Katie.
stop it. But Katie, you also probably have a very good support system in place. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have family members that are teachers and people that you
Yes.
can go to for advice, or when you get your mom on the phone and you vent and, the curse words might come out. I mean, that's the, that's part of, letting loose in the profession. And I'd be interested to hear like what you're seeing where you are currently teaching with like the new crop of teachers, because you're getting to be in that veteran phase now, right? Like 9 years, like which is crazy. Yeah, 9 years, you're a veteran. Okay.
Yeah.
But like what you're seeing with younger people that come into the profession and how they're trying to make a difference with kids. Like what are you seeing in Nebraska?
We have a pretty, I was going to say we have a pretty solid balance of young and veteran. We honestly have more young teachers, I think, in our building than we do veteran teachers at this point. And for the most part, we have a really great staff community. My colleagues are a great support system too. Like I have a lot of friends that I work with, which is great. So it's nice to have that in the building and I think it's good for younger teachers that are kind of joining us to be able to, have somebody who they feel like is relatively relatable to, bounce frustrations off of, or, have conversations about hard days or good days or whatever it is. So we have kind of a lot of young teachers, and they, for the most part, are, I mean, like you said, very hopeful, which is nice. Oh, bells are ringing over here.
I
bells
wanted
are
to
ringing.
I wanted to get up. I was like ready.
All right, gotta go. I have to go to the bed. We're so operantly conditioned to bells.
Yeah.
For those of you listening at home, Katie's actually recording at her mom's school in the library. So it's that wonderful backdrop of 1,000 books, libraries.
Yes.
Do you remember
It's
Do you remember
beautiful.
libraries?
That book's over here, I guess. It's beautiful.
We don't
Yes,
have
we do.
libraries anymore, so I lament
Really?
often about
No.
they're
Oh my
gone.
goodness.
I know.
No,
That's
I
crazy
don't
to
think
me.
there's any. Is there no school in the district that has a library at this point? I don't think there is one. I don't. We have 3 high schools, 5 middle schools, 600 elementary. I don't know how many. 18 elementary schools, or maybe school 18 has one. Yeah, you're right. They do.
All
Tracy,
of the
No, I'm saying
my
18
wife
elementary
doesn't-
schools, but they don't. That's an actual public library. Over by school 18, there's a public library. That's not in
That's
the
right.
school.
Right. Yeah,
That's
so we don't
outside.
have.
It's a separate
We have
building.
one.
No.
We have one library specialist that helps with like special projects and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But we don't have that. But anyway, that's why you heard the bell, because someone is someone's
in a school.
hiding in their mom's school, which is
Yeah.
which is totally fine.
So, Katie, what do you think is? Do you have any thoughts on, what some solutions might be to help what might be a lack of parental support in schools?
I
Fix
wish
it
that
all
I
for
had
us,
like
Katie.
an easy yes, absolutely. I wish I had an easy yes. Like I wish I had like here's 5 things we could do, to help support parents. I just think a lot of like reinforcement of come and talk to the specific person that you have an issue with, or reinforce these, like your kids have to be held accountable. Like they're going to be held accountable at school. They have to be held accountable at home. But I don't think unfortunately, I don't think there's a quick and easy fix for the issue,
We've had some help from the state. We had been, our attendance rates were very low. Our scores weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. So we had been given a ton of funding from the state to try to fix the problems, right? And so we brought in these like family literacy nights and family STEM nights, and we had classes for parents to teach them how to access things on the computer so that they could help the kids. They actually had like some parenting groups where they would have like counselors and teachers and parents and their children to sort of how to talk through their issues and kind of help them to parent and all of those things. It was like, it wasn't one, it was many, many things over the course of a few years. And we saw like, wow, this is really helpful. The biggest problem with that is that once they got the attendance rates back up and the test scores started to go, they pulled all the funding for that and all of those extra programs. It's like, you can't expect us to come at nighttime and be here at nighttime working for free, and so all those programs disappeared. And then so those kinds of things never make any sense to me. It's like we can identify the problem. Teachers are great at problem solving. We, I can identify something and we can figure out how to make it better. But without the money to do that, we're not. We can't do it anymore.
What was your attendance like at things like that? Was it like a good amount of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it like?
I mean, remember our family tech night? I mean, if you feed them, they will come.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
We had hundreds and hundreds of people to come to see their kids, and they want to, and then they learn, and in turn, they become, have these opportunities to talk to their kids about things that are going on. And I've run a parent book club going, over 20 years at this point. And I've had people who it was their very first book that they've ever read in English. I've had parents who've come and told like the most fascinating stories about their own struggles, and then opened up to not just their own children. And you can see their own kids like, they've never heard that. Like, I live with you and I've never heard that story before. But these types of programs need funding.
Right.
And you can't do it if there is no dollars. And, most teachers, like we've talked about before, most teachers have side gigs. Most teachers have to work on the weekends. And whether you're a bartender or you tutor or whatever it is that you might be doing,
They have podcast,
and
like a
have a podcast,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
That right now makes you, doesn't make any money, but that's not the point.
Someday it's going to make so much money.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping
Katie?
for. I gotta buy a Jeep someday.
Sky's the limit.
James, I'm sorry I cut you off there because
I just wanted to know, do you so I have two things I want to make sure that I ask you. Number one, do you guys have to bring your own bags to stores in Nebraska? And number two, what? Seriously, I don't want her to leave.
We have a plastic bag ban in New Jersey.
We have a plastic bag ban, and part one of this episode, we talked at length about having to bring our own bags to the store and how it's been years and nobody can remember to even.
I literally went to the store. I literally went to the store 2 days ago, and it's been 1,600 years of this no bag thing, and I still went in without bags, and I had to bring everything out in my cart. And anyway, that was the first question. Do you have a bag policy?
And the second question is, do you find teacher pay to be an issue where you are as well? I'm just curious, like, what's the starting salary for a teacher in your area? Those are my questions.
Okay, I'll do the easy one first. We do not have a bag ban of any kind in Nebraska.
Could you mail us some, please?
Jealous.
Absolutely. Listen, I have a drawer full of plastic bags at home because that's who I am as a person, how I was raised, I guess. Yep. So yeah, if you send me an address and I'll mail you plastic bags all day long.
Absolutely.
And then salary, I think our base salary is $38,500.
Okay.
And
standard of living is different in the areas in which we live.
Yeah. I mean, that's like first year teacher right out of college, no experience, no extra hours or anything like that. And then, I mean, we have an index that goes up. I think the most that you can make in my district with just a bachelor's degree, and if you max out your years of experience, is about 50.
Wait, what? Say that again. So if you max out your years,
hush went over the crowd.
Okay.
Yeah, 50 is about where it maxes out. I mean, that's like if you're not coaching or doing any extra duties or anything, but like you're just coming and teaching and going home.
That is vastly different than the way it is in New Jersey. Because we're in New York, we live, if you took New York City and you drew a 100-mile radius around us, that's the fourth most highly populated area on the planet. So
right,
you have a premium for people to live and work in that area. But yeah, that's an eye-opening number.
Yeah. To be fair, our cost of living is significantly lower, like significantly, but
so we want to just mention that.
So it would be fair. Okay. It would be fair to say that most of the people that are around you doing what you do have a side gig.
Oh yeah.
So they have to do something else to support themselves.
Typically, like during the school year, I don't have a side gig, but I also coach fine arts, so I don't have any time. In the summer, I do like a receptionist gig for my dad's lumberyard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I do online tutoring and curriculum work, and people find side jobs to do. We have a group of teachers that works as like they're like valet parkers at like a shore, like up down by the shore, like a bar that they work at. So they park car, but everybody's doing it all over the country. Which is another reason why there might be a shortage, because people are working two jobs to do their one job. So that's always I admire your perspective. I really encourage you to check out illusionofadulting.blogspot.com, which is where you can find an open letter to parents written by Katie Schneider. And if you have not read it, we also linked it in our description for this episode and in the our part 1 of this episode. You can check it out too, because thankfully Katie gave us permission to do that. So thank you very much for letting us share your message.
Yeah, share it out
far and wide. But Katie, I want to thank you again for joining us today on the Balancing Act. I think that every educator really across the country could benefit and find something to resonate with in the article that you wrote. That's why I feel it was so important for us to have you on as a guest and for you to join us for the conversation today. So thanks a lot for taking the time and for crashing your mom's school and sitting in the library on your day off, which we really appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
No
Thanks, Katie.
As always. Sorry. Go ahead. You first. Go ahead.
I'd love to talk to you again, Katie. I feel like I had a lot more things. I didn't realize the time went so quickly.
Yeah,
I would have eaten my Cadbury egg so much faster had I known that our time would be up.
No, you savor that Cadbury egg.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
as always, we appreciate you, Katie, for joining us.
I appreciate
Thank you very much for having me. This was awesome.
I appreciate you, Jamie. Thank you. This is like our thing. This is what we do.
Joseph, I appreciate you and my egg.
And your egg, yes. Thanks. Again, shout out to my daughter for being willing to share with you and not with me. So, all right. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.
And you've been listening to the Balancing Act podcast. Have a topic we should discuss? Drop us a line at thebalancingactpod@gmail.com.